Our second guest today on Channel 18 is Paula Rascitino, and although she hasn't been here for a little while, I'm sure many of you remember her. She's the president and founder of Citizens for Homeowners Insurance Reform, and she has been keeping tracks on what the insurance company is doing for us or against us. We don't know. But we're going to talk about that today. And what's been going on, Paula?
Well, thank you for having me back. It's been a while. And I think all of us and the public, in spite of our being against our high rates, have been a little complacent in our complaints so far over the last year.
That's true.
But the recent issue has been that the Commissioner of Insurance in Boston, the Division of Insurance, has recently allowed 4 of the major private insurance companies to receive rate hikes, which will go across the state.
Wow.
But in that, the question is, are these justified? There's been calling out by other people, not just the Cape and Islands, but in other parts of the state, which has now escalated so that the Senate, the state Senate, has formed a committee. And they are studying this issue of the private insurers, which is called the voluntary market. And unlike the FAIR plan, which is the insurance, they say, of last resort, which covers, by the way, at the Cape and Islands, approximately, I believe, about 35 to 40% of our insurance policies with the FAIR plan. Most second homeowners cannot get private insurers to cover their homes. If you live, here part-time, most of your homes have problems in being covered by private insurers. So the voluntary market, as they say, and the first rate increase that happened was with Commerce Insurance, which is now MAFRE Insurance, a new name change. I happen to have that. As of August 1st, those rates have been average, when they put the publicity in the newspaper, average is just under 10%. But I was appalled at the Division of Insurance allowing and not disproving, allowing the rate increases for the private insurers, especially the amount that the Cape and Islands is being hit for.
How much was that?
Well, under the Commerce Insurance, I did go in last Wednesday to the Division of Insurance, and I have a copy of the filing, and I went over a lot of it. The rate increase for the Cape and Islands is just over 10%.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot, because at the Cape and Islands, our average premiums here are about $2,500 a year. Are about our average premiums for homes with the private insurance market. So that's like a $250 increase in a year.
Wow.
And this is, to me, excessive, and I'll tell you why. In the last report that was sent out by the Division of Insurance, which was 2013, they're always like 2 years in the past because they have to wait till all the claims get settled and so forth. The loss ratio, the loss ratio for the Cape and Islands by the private insurance companies was 19.5%, which means for every dollar we pay in premium, 19.5 cents goes to claims. The rest of this huge amount of money goes to operating costs and profit. So in my opinion, at least I feel an expert on the Cape and Islands area, the Division of Insurance should be looking at these territories, and at least for the Cape and Islands, who are already paying an excessive amount of premium, they should not be allowed to increase in our territory.
Now, how is it in the western part of the state? Are they in the same position as the Cape and Islands?
No, their rates over the last number of years were almost excessively low, to be quite honest. Now, the thing we do have to take into effect is that your premiums and so forth are oftentimes, they're based on your replacement value of your homes. And I do think that the Cape and Islands have probably more expensive homes, but when you take into effect other parts of the state, like Weston and Southborough and Brookline and Newton, and
Well,
I mean, there's a
they're
lot
plenty
of
money
expensive,
there.
in every community there are expensive homes today.
Yes.
And I think that we have been misaligned, because if you look at the average price of homes on the Cape, they aren't $1 million homes. I know a lot of people that have homes that are in the $300,000 range, and there's a number of them that are less than that, a lot of them. But I mean, I think that, again, the Cape and Islands is being hit with excessive premium, whether it's to offset losses across the state or not. This has been my main complaint. The Division of Insurance has a main purpose. And by the way, I was just reading up, Benjamin Franklin started the insurance companies
Really?
years ago.
Yeah,
The
it's
first,
a long time ago.
right, they're regulated by state. Each state regulates their own homeowner insurance, or their own insurance, but especially homeowner insurance. New Hampshire was the first state to ever have a commissioner of insurance way back.
Well,
Now, with that in mind, that each state regulates their own, Massachusetts and all insurance divisions, their main purpose is to protect the consumer. It's not to protect the profit of the industry. When I went into the Division of Insurance last week, and I met with the Rating Bureau Director, who is kind of a liaison between the Division of Insurance, the insurance industry, and the consumer, and we went over the Commerce filing. I could see in the Commerce rate filing that they submitted that they use the same modeling companies that the FAIR Plan uses. All the companies use, insurance companies, use the same modeling to predict hurricane loss. In Massachusetts, the risk and potential loss from hurricane is probably one of the largest risks that insurance companies protect themselves on. When the Division of Insurance, back when the last FAIR Plan rate filing occurred, back I think in 2013, no, they denied, the Division of Insurance denied their rate filing for the third time, allowing them a rate increase.
There was some denial there.
There's a 25-page document that you can look at. I urge people to go to the Division of Insurance and under reports, look up their FAIR Plan rate filing. I think it's 2013. Read the decision, 25 pages that specifically discusses the standards that were not met in order for the FAIR Plan to get that rate increase. And in particular was how they are looking at the potential for hurricane loss. With that denial, the state, in my opinion, established standards that should apply to all insurance companies. The FAIR Plan is an insurance company. It acts like an insurance company. Everything about it, except it's formed by all insurers in Massachusetts, come together to share in the risk of properties that fall within a high-risk area. And so, but it is an insurance company. So when you, from the Division of Insurance, and the Commissioner, give a filing that says you didn't meet the standards to justify a rate increase because of, and very detailed, especially to do with hurricane loss and modeling, then how can you take private insurance companies that come in with their rate filings? There's no public process, by the way, with that.
Really?
No, private insurance companies use a method which is called file and use. It does not remove, water down, or change any of the responsibility of the Division of Insurance to make sure that insurance rates are not excessive, inadequate, or unfairly discriminatory, is their language. But they have the division and the commissioner has the same obligation to the consumer to protect us. Under file and use, Mr. Insurance Company brings his documents and passes it to the Division of Insurance. There's an outline. They have to provide all of these different details. And if at the end of 30 days, the Division of Insurance and Commissioner have not denied that, it automatically goes into effect, those rate increases. So I stated strongly last week at the division that I felt that the division was not doing its duty under the law, because how can I see and read a 25-page document about the unjustified hurricane models and losses. For instance, let me give you an example. Under the Florida Hurricane Commission,
That's what I was waiting to hear.
under the Florida Hurricane Commission, which was set up to protect Florida consumers, the methodology that has been established has been probably, at least over 10 years, annually, if a modeling company is to be used in the state of Florida in rate filing, in rate making by an insurance company, that model has to be approved by the commission. Because of that process, all other states in the United States that have the risk of hurricane, they depend that if that model was approved by the Florida Hurricane Commission, then it's safe to use. But
every other state.
Yeah, but let me tell you, the methodology is correct. It should be, because the methodology says that if you want to count a hurricane, 3 minutes, so I can't get into all my details. I'll have to come back about it. But what I'm saying is that the importance of the Division of Insurance to utilize their own standards they've established in the FAIR Plan needs to be applied to all insurers.
Right.
Because that is not happening, and the consumers are being ripped off with higher rates, and the division says, we don't want insurance companies leaving. If we don't allow them a rate increase, they'll leave and you won't have competition. You know what I say? Bye-bye. Because that happened in Florida. They kicked out State Farm for a long time. I don't know if they're back there now. But believe me, there's so much profit in this state that if the big guys left because they didn't like the rules, we're not price fixing. What we want is to follow the standards so that you protect the consumer. That's the duty under those statutes. And I'm going to work on this. I urge people to contact Senator Wolf, because the Senate has got a committee looking into this issue, and I believe if you call his office, or more than write letters, or you could write your own history, but we need to have the Senate committee realize this is an important issue for all of us still. We're getting too complacent. And I thank you so much, Ezra.
Do you have his number by any chance?
Oh, boy, no, I didn't bring it, but maybe the station will put Senator Wolf's number on your video for me. I didn't bring that, because that would be helpful. Our legislators do need to know that this is a problem, and you may not see it now, because a lot of these increases will not go into effect until your next renewal.
So, which is in the next year.
Right, and I can bet you right now, $5, because of this, the FAIR Plan will come in with a rate hike probably in the near future, trying to raise their rates. So we'll be back.
Sure they will.
We'll be back.
We'll look forward to that. But thank you for this information.
Okay, thank you, and I'm pleased to be able to communicate to the citizens. Thanks, Paul.